All right, we ready? All right, hello everybody, happy Monday. We're going to call this meeting to order on Monday, February 3rd, 2025 at 6:01. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I do not believe we have any adjustments, do we?
No adjustments.
No, all right. Moving on to approval of minutes. We have for Monday, January 6th, 2025, the regular business meeting. That was at 6 o'clock. Wednesday, January 15th, 2025, insurance workshop at 2 p.m. Monday, January 27th, we had 3. There were executive sessions. One was at 8:30, one was at 9, and one was at 9:30. And then we have one on Wednesday, January 29th, 2025, which was a budget workshop at 4 p.m. Do I have a recommendation to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I second the motion.
Perfect. Any discussion? All in favor? Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you. Public comment? I don't see anybody here. Nothing? Okay. And communications?
Sure, one communication to announce, email that was sent to me and the school committee was CC'd on of a parent of one of our elementary students who was concerned about President Trump's executive order that was issued last Wednesday regarding ending radical indoctrination in K through 12 schools. Someone who was taking exception to that. For that, so did want to recognize that and let people know that we appreciate them reaching out and concerned about the impact on our school community. Just want to reiterate our commitment to ensuring that Sanford School Department remains a welcome and supportive environment for all of our students. It's a priority for us. The Maine Department of Education did issue guidance that this particular executive order does not alter our obligations under state law, including the Maine Human Rights Act. It does not require any immediate changes to our locally adopted school committee policies. So just want to reiterate to everyone that we are committed to maintaining a supportive and positive environment for all of our students and staff, and we will continue to ensure that all of our students feel safe, respected, and valued as we continue to follow the direction of the Maine Department of Education as well as our school committee. With that.
Great, thank you. And thank you for that email. Moving on to committee reports.
Sure. Since our last regular business meeting on January 6th, we've been up. There's been a lot going on. The Special Education Advisory Committee met on January 8th and discussed the recent Department of Ed presentation that we had regarding the local educational agencies taking over the responsibilities for 3 to 5-year-olds from CDS. So we had a discussion on that at length and concerns that I think committee members had in regards to that responsibility and that timeline. We also talked about committee representation for subcommittees for that cohort, but also the 18 to 20-year-old subcommittees. So our next meeting is going to be February 26th, 2:30 at Sanford Community Adult Education. In the meantime, we are looking up to try to set up a meeting with RSU 35, that's Marshwood. They are someone who is participating in this cohort 1 right now and being successful. And then there's another collaboration going on between York and Kittery. So before this 26th meeting, looking to see if we can set something up, maybe myself and Cheryl as the business manager, Steve as assistant superintendent, might be able to kind of see what we can gauge, learn from there to bring back to our committee in terms of next steps. As far as policy committee, the policy committee met last Monday, and you're going to see a number of the policies on tonight's agenda were covered in that meeting. We've also scheduled another school committee workshop for this Wednesday, February 5th. That'll be at 4 o'clock. And on that agenda is to review dangerous student procedures, parent-guardian communication policy, the Section C policies in our policy manual. Those are more under the general school administration superintendent. And then also cell phone policy and next steps. That'll be this Wednesday, 4 o'clock. And Steve, later on this evening, will be having other policies for action. Curriculum Committee, the next meeting is this Thursday, February 6th, 8 a.m. at Central Office. Agenda items include grade 8 to grade 9 placement, SRTC data, winter assessment window, the instructional unit work going on at the high school and middle school, multilingual learners, and summer professional development. So Curriculum Committee this Thursday, Paula and Melissa, my apologies, I forgot to keep that in this week's update, so add that to your calendar. Safety Committee, Assistant Superintendent Steve Bouchier will be giving an update, a report from that and later in the agenda. And then the Sanford Schools Legacy Foundation, at last month's meeting, the Sanford Schools Legacy Foundation approved a request on behalf of the Sanford School Department to cover the cost of transportation in Soaring Spartan T-shirts for all of our fourth graders in the district to take an annual field trip as part of their career exploration unit in collaboration with the Finance Authority of Maine. Past field trips for our fourth graders have been to Moody's Collision in the Sanford Regional Airport. And so the request is to have Legacy cover these cost of the field trips and the T-shirts for the next 5 years, and that approximate cost is $15,000. So that was something that was approved by the Legacy Foundation, and their next meeting is also this week, Wednesday, February 5th. I haven't seen an agenda, but there is a conflict with that meeting because of our school committee workshop on policies. And those are committee reports.
All right, because you did such a nice job, why don't you continue with your superintendent's report?
Sure, I'll turn it right over to our students, though. Elsie, Matt, and Zach, if there's anything that they have to share with us, any updates that they have before they can go and also cover the latest edition of the hot off the press Sanford Spotlight.
So, from Margaret Chase Smith showcases, Margaret Chase Smith Elementary School highlighted student achievement through 2 special showcase events. Families experienced firsthand how their children are developing essential early learning skills through interactive demonstrations in Mrs. Devine's pre-K classroom and the kindergarten classrooms of Mrs. Maisie's, Mrs. Cody, Mrs. Wilson, and Mrs. Parker. SHS staff veterans celebrated at Sanford basketball games. The Sanford High School boys and girls basketball teams hosted a military appreciation night during its doubleheader against Noble on Tuesday, January 28th at Partners Bake Gymnasium. Joe Jourdain wins SRO Wayne Drown Award. Sanford Middle School's School Resource Officer, SRO, Joe Jourdain, was recently honored with the Wayne Drown School Resource Officer Award at the Maine Association of Police Annual Banquet. Sites around our schools at Margaret Chase Smith, students in Mrs. Bennett's class shared their writing with Principal Hallisey as they completed their character sketch unit. At Carl J. Lamb, the PTA recently hosted its Be Our Guest event for families. At Sanford Middle School, Peyton Ricker's Snack Dash project to provide free snacks between meals has received attention from multiple local news outlets. And at Sanford Pride, the Sanford Mainers mascot visited Pride Elementary during its all-school meeting recently to help promote the team's Bookworms literacy program.
Michelle Pear nominated for Fenway's Bowl of Honor role. Sanford Pride Elementary School teacher Michelle Pear has joined a group of New England educators and nominated for 2024 Fenway Bowl Honor role, a program celebrating teachers who make an extraordinary contribution to their students and communities. Jewel Williams named it to Mock Newberry Community. Sanford Middle School librarian and media specialist Jewel Williams has been selected to serve on the School Library Journal's Mock Newberry Committee, joining librarians from across the nation and evaluating the best children's literacy of 2024. SHS musicians performed at District Honor Roll Festival. 14 talented musicians from Sanford High School demonstrated their musical excellence at this year's Mainet Music Educators Association, MMEA, District's 1 Honors Festival. The Spartan Times is a SHS online student newspaper. This featured article by them, it talks about the class of 2026 upcoming fundraisers. Just a little reminder, attendance does matter, especially coming up for these next few weeks. And Broadway's next hit returns to the SPAC. Return to the SPAC stage at 7 p.m. Saturday, February 8th is Broadway's next hit musical, presenting an original improvised awards show that guarantees a night of spontaneous music and comedy.
Just a reminder that our athletic schedules are available to keep up with our athletes in the postseason on the Spartan Spotlight. And if you were looking to have a community announcement in the Sanford Spotlight, just contact the school committee. The community resource guide is available. It has tons of helpful stuff on it. And then, just in case you didn't know, all of our schools offer free meals, free breakfast every day, and free lunch. Attached are also instructions on how to download our app. And Sanford alumni set new sprint records at USM. 2020 alumni Ethan Shane now holds the 55-meter, 60-meter, 100-meter, and 200-meter indoor track records. This month's employee spotlight is Elizabeth Sear. She has lived in Sanford for 32 years and has worked for Sanford for 21 years.
Excellent. Thank you, folks. Much appreciated. Matt, you focused right on the indoor track of Ethan Shane. You went over the inclement weather procedures, and I'm a little bit hurt because as the superintendent, we've had to utilize those in the last week with both a 1 hour and a 2 hour delay. And I've also must say that as I moved my way around the district today, I wish I had $1 for each time someone asked me about the upcoming weather later on this week. It could really help towards our budget process, but we will continue to watch the weather forecast and do everything we can to continue to be safe for that. Also, Peyton Ricker was recognized at Sanford Middle School with her snack dash. That was also featured on Channel 8 ABC recently, which I thought was pretty neat. Thank you, though. Appreciate everyone's focus there, and we will get that latest edition out to our people tomorrow or Wednesday. Okay, also under Superintendent's report, some field trips that I want to announce coming up. We have the Camden Conference, where students engage in high-level academic discourse in Camden and Rockland area. That's happening on February 21st to the February 23rd, that first weekend of school vacation. Ryan Geary is taking some chorus members to the All-State Festival. That's that's coming up later this spring, May 14th to May 17th. That's at the University of Maine in Orono. Our AP Art National Art Honor Society are looking to go down to the New England Aquarium in Boston. That is scheduled for March 14th. With that, heading down to Boston. And then we also have our Skills USA students from SRTC. They're going to be heading up to Bangor that weekend, March and 13th and 14th. I think we have maybe over 70 students who are going to be going up and participating with that. And Matt's one of them. Excellent with that. So good luck. As we go up there, hopefully we can be able to represent SRTC in the statewide competition and bring home some gold for that. A couple other things I want to talk about in my report, the 2025-2026 school budget update. There is a tab on our website with the budget materials for 2025-2026. It has all the materials, all the presentations. You can also see the recordings. We had our first school committee budget workshop on January 29th. That one focused on expenses, and currently our budget has a 7.8% increase in expenses. We held our second school committee budget workshop earlier this evening. That focused on revenue. Revenue is currently increased by 6.2%. Our next school committee budget workshop will be next Monday, February 10th. It'll be 4 p.m. right here in the City Hall chambers. We also have additional school committee budget workshops scheduled for February 12th, the 24th, 27th, and March 3rd if necessary. The school committee will need to approve a budget at either the February 24th or March 3rd school committee meetings because the first city council budget workshop is on Tuesday, March 4th. And the city council budget meetings will be Tuesdays in March, and there's been a change. Their start times, instead of being 4 p.m., are going to be 5 p.m. for those meetings in March. Also, on Tuesday, January 21st, the Sanford School Department received a multilingual hardship adjustment funds. This is per Title 20A, Section 15689, subsection 16. And what this is, it's based on the comparison of our October 1st, 2023 student enrollment counts and our October 1st, 2024 student enrollment counts. They measure differences in the multilingual learners. We had an increase in population, so we qualified for the multilingual hardship adjustment, and we received $170,000 and $170,053.63. Steve, later on here, or coming up shortly, is going to have a presentation on our multilingual learners. Also, the Sanford School Department School Nutrition Department received good news regarding our direct certification eligibility. This is really what's used for free and reduced lunch. It's increasing significantly, and what that's doing is putting our whole district as direct certification eligible. And that puts us at a higher percentage for the upcoming school year of 2026. So now we qualify as a district. And this application is going to be based on our upcoming April 1st enrollment eligibility, but we don't really anticipate our numbers changing with that. So that is good news to report. Also, the Biddeford School Department's application for the student homelessness prevention pilot, they received word that was partially funded. We, the Sanford School Department, we're one of the 5 partner schools in this grant. The grant award was for $275,000. What we applied for with Biddeford and the other partner schools, Biddeford taking the lead on this, it was ambitious. We asked for the full $2 million was what we had requested. And so we thought we had worked together, all the different schools, to really put a comprehensive application together that represented all of our communities and the challenges that we all face with homeless families and youth. And so that grant was originally posted. It was originally posted for a short time frame. It just had a short turnaround of 3 weeks. And so the sending schools worked together with Biddeford taking the lead. We submitted it 24 hours before the deadline. And about an hour and a half after it was submitted, they extended the application window by 45 days with that. So Biddeford, who on behalf of our consortium, they have reached out to appeal so that we can better understand their decision on that. One of the towns that was awarded nearly $200,000 more than we were services fewer homeless students. So just some questions we have. We've reached out to be able to appeal with that. An award notification is not a contract, and so before signing a contract, Biddeford is going to need to resubmit a revised budget and adjust our goals in terms of that. So I will continue to update us in terms of what we feel for that. Obviously, we're happy to receive $275,000, but I think at the same time, we have to do everything we can to find out where we might have come up short with that. So big thank you to the Biddeford School Department, as I said, taking the lead on that. We are with one of 5 schools as part of that grant. Also want to congratulate Sanford Middle School 7th grade teacher Diana Allen. She has been awarded the Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. That's the PAEMST, and each year the PAEMST, the President of the United States recognizes outstanding educators from across the country who teach science, technology, engineering, or math, STEM, at either an elementary or secondary grade level. Recipients of the award represent the best of STEM education, demonstrating deep content knowledge of the subjects they teach and the ability to enable student success. And so there's over 5,000 awardees have been recognized since that program established back in 1983. And so congratulations to Diana for this prestigious honor and award. Currently, they're making arrangements for Diana to receive her $10,000 award for that. So congratulations to Miss Allen at the middle school. Also, just want to let people know that this week is recognized as National School Counseling Week. We're very thankful for all of our school counselors and all that they do to support our students each and every day. Also, congratulations to our Sanford High School Spartan cheerleaders for placing 3rd in the SMAA cheering competition. And they also placed 5th this past weekend in the Class A South Regional up in Bangor, and they've qualified for next Saturday's state competition in Augusta. Wishing them luck, wishing our wrestling team luck as they move on to the regionals in wrestling. And then finally, we are in the early days of the legislative session, but things are picking up in Augusta. Public hearings are underway. With that, there's a lot of bills involving issues such as flexible work schedules, education for military-connected students, and FOA requests. With that, it looks like so far in this session there are over 2,400 bills submitted, 2,400 new bills with that. So they have released a list of those requests by lawmakers. In doing that, just to give people an idea, there's some real themes to go along with all of those. Some of the major themes coming up in this session have to do with school construction. There's several bills around that. I think we're fortunate in Sanford with all the construction that we've had in our community, in our district, that that's really not going to be impacting us. But there are a lot of bills proposing to change school funding, including efforts to provide homeless and economically disadvantaged students, which we have talked about. And then student behavior is also another issue that's been raised by multiple lawmakers. We know that that's challenging in doing that. Other issues to watch include student transfers, teacher certification, school vouchers, student attendance, and whatnot. So just a little update as that's picked up, and we'll continue to monitor that. So if there's things that we have to go out to testify or advocate for, we can continue to be able to do that for it. And that's superintendent's report for this evening.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, moving on to director's report with Mr. Bussiere.
Good evening. I have a couple of brief reports for you tonight. The first report is about our multilingual learner program. Multilingual learner, MLL, previously referred to as ESOL, or some of you who go way back may remember ELL. The new acronym is Multilingual Learners, so MLL. So if you, MLL, under civil rights laws, schools are mandated to identify MLL students and provide support for them to succeed academically and to make sure that they have equitable access to education. Every district in the country, every school district in the state of Maine has a LAU plan, and in that LAU plan, it identifies how do we identify students, how do we serve students, and then how do we continuously evaluate students on their progress towards English proficiency. So that federal mandate is that when students come to our district, whether a new enrollee or a student that is transferring in from another district, is we need to make sure that within 30 days of arrival, that we make sure that we have screened them and identified them for services. So if you look at what's changed in our program over the past 2 years, the biggest change that we have right out of the gate is in terms of our enrollment process. The families that are coming into our community, a lot of them are new arrivals to the United States, or they're coming from other parts of the country and they've not been in the country long. And so with that, their English language proficiency is limited. And so they need greater support. And so we have moved to a centralized registration. And so when we have a new MLL family come into the district, we ask they come to central office. We support them with completing those registration forms. Oftentimes, we have to use an interpreter to help them fill out the form. Sometimes they bring help with them with that. I want to give a shout out to Ann Lura, our data specialist, who also does enrollment. She plays a big part in that. Once the student is enrolled, then we notify our MLL staff and say we have some new enrollees. They will reach out to the family. They will work on, okay, what's that next step to get you screened, working with outreach and the administrative team to make that happen. And then once students have been screened, they work on what does that transition look like? You know, what's the bus stop? What time is the bus going to come? All those logistics that we take for granted with our own kids, really making sure that families have and students have a successful start right out of the gate. So how do we identify students? When any student starts our school, whether it be pre-K, kindergarten, or coming from another school district, students are asked, families are asked to complete a language use survey to see if a language other than English is spoken in the home. If there is an indication of yes, then we have an obligation to screen that student to determine whether or not they're eligible for MLL services. I found this pretty interesting if you think of the growth in our program, but we have 16 different languages spoken in the Sanford School Department. I think you can see it as you walk through our halls. In our community, you're beginning to see that, and that number continues to rise with that. So the screening, we talked about that. When you enroll, you fill out the form. Language other than English is spoken at home. We have a duty to screen. And so every student that comes in, we screen them. We give them a screener. It's a national screener that the state of Maine has chosen to use. It's used across multiple states. And what that does is it gives us a English language proficiency score. Do you want to move ahead a couple? Next one. There we go. And student is given a level in terms of their English proficiency. So at level 1, that's that entering and beginning stage. Level 2 is emerging, and you can see it goes on up. Once students reach that level 5 and level 6, they are no longer in need of service, and they're no longer identified as an MLL student. If we have a new student that comes to the country, the expectation is that they will be in our program for 7 years, and within those 7 years, we should be able to get them so they are no longer in need of service. So what do services look like? We have a variety of services. The first one is pull-out instruction. We now have pull-out instruction that occurs across our grade spans from K all the way up until you're a senior in high school, where students are pulled out for a separate block, and they are directed strictly in the English language At the high school, sometimes that's one block, but sometimes it's 2 blocks. And at the elementary school, it's 1 block. Middle school, it's 1 block. There's also push-in instruction that happens. So once students reach that level 4, high 3, students are really in the regular ed classroom. They're doing pretty well. They just need a little bit of support. And so our MLL staff will go in and check on them and to provide them with support and basically support in the content areas with that. And then consultation services, once students get ready where they're going to be exiting the program, our staff consulting with the teacher, hey, how are they doing, to make sure they're making that progress to exit the program. Now, I mentioned we have 2 blocks a day or 1 block a day. What's happening the other time in school? And so one of the things that we have started to introduce to our staff is called the SIOP model. It's a research-based model that talks about effective lesson design and how to support students' language development. And really, these are good instructional strategies that support all students. And so if you look at the curriculum change we've made in ELA, in grades 1 through 5, that program is built to support all students, but it's really, really effective with our MLL students because it's very, very structured. And so that's why we went with it. That's why I chose to go with that program. So that's how services work. Look at the enrollment. And this is right, coming up on budget and we're requesting another position. I just want to talk to you a little bit about what we're seeing with enrollment. If you go back to 2018, we had 1 staff member who went around and serviced students. At that time, we did not have a lot of students. I don't even think we had any students at that time that were new to the country, just learning the English language, and we were pretty steady there for a couple of years, 2018, 2019, 2020. 2021, we started to see an uptick. At that time, we did add an ed tech to our ranks, and then you can see our enrollments have increased. So this October 1st, these are October 1st numbers, we had 158 students with us. If you look at what was that number last Friday, we were at 170. And if you look at where we are today, I think we landed at 173 this afternoon. So our enrollment is increasing. And I bring that up because we talked about enrollment earlier, and I talked about the intensive support we provide to families with that onboarding to get them registered. That's just not something that's happening in September. That's happening throughout the year with that. So right now we're at 173. So if you go and let's look at staffing. So I mentioned in 2021 we had 1 teacher, 1 ed tech. 2022 we moved to 2 teachers, and our student ratio was 28 or 29 to 1. 2023 we had 4 teachers, and then in 2024 where we're at now we have 5 teachers. And you notice our student-to-teacher ratio keeps going up. And right now, their current caseload is 34, if you were to average them out together. Teresa Weber at the high school, she has a different situation because she's providing more direct instruction to kids. Her caseload is now over 50 for her. Nisha at the middle school is the same thing. They're pushing their caseload. And so that's why in the budget we've asked for an additional position. I want to give a shout out to our staff. Teresa Weber came to us from Lewiston. She experienced the increase in the population in Lewiston. She has been a tremendous resource to our program and also has been a great mentor to Nisha McGuckin, who's over at the middle school, Margot Longfish, who goes between the middle school and Carl Lamb, Lenore Williams, who has also been a great asset to us. She worked in the Portland school system as an administrator, has been a tremendous asset to the program. And then Tim Legier, who's joined us this year, who brings a lot to the program. He's done a lot of traveling around the country, teaching in different countries. So I feel like we have a really strong staff. With that being said, we have 2 retirements. And with this new position, we could have 3 positions to fill if everything goes according to plan. So I'll take questions at this time, if anybody wants to add anything.
So when you're talking about the ratios, what's Is there a number that's a best practice? Like 1 to 34 that sounds really high. And it sounds like it's growing on a daily basis.
I don't, that's a very complex question because we are not meeting, let me phrase this. It's complex depending on what school you're in and what school system you're in terms of what that looks like. So if I have, when we had Teresa, we were able to make that work because the level of English proficiency was very, very high. And so you have to take that, what's your level of English proficiency and what number of students do you have at each level? What do they need for services? And then plug those staff members in. And so it's not like how many kindergarten teachers do I need? It's not that simple because it's based on the level of need. 30 is high. 50 is extraordinarily high. Because our staff members, they don't just teach, they also help our staff in terms of family engagement, helping to get families involved. Sometimes if there's a communication barrier or a cultural barrier, our MLL staff are also doing that type of work as well. So they're doing a lot of outreach, cultural brokering, helping with interpretation. They're doing a lot of that stuff besides the teaching piece of it, which is really, really challenging. With that, for our staff in general, our administrators, teachers, I think I'm proud of the work they've done. Because they've had to learn as well, how do we communicate? When we had 20 kids, teacher has an issue, they'd say, Teresa, help me with this. How do I contact this parent? And Teresa would dial the language line, get the interpreter on the line, and she'd walk them all through that. Where now our teachers are picking up the phone, they're using language line to make that communication. So it's really, they're using Google Translate to translate documents. And so it's really, they're increasing their toolbox. But yeah, I'm not sure I answered your question. Complex.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is where they're on the continuum, right? That you come back in to be able to do that. And also what the needs are that people are bringing towards you. And so I think when you're seeing an influx of new Mainers, you're going to see those needs are greater in that situation. So that's where you're seeing the requests for the additional teacher, is to be able to come back and help those, help out our staff who's doing an outstanding job. Really, as Steve mentioned, I reiterate what he said in terms of all the work that they're doing to support our students and families has been outstanding.
And I think in our community, I think the school committee has also been very supportive, and the community has also been very supportive in our budget requests in the past, seeing what was ahead. We knew what was coming, and the community listened and has supported us along the way. So I just want to say that it's also appreciative of you guys in providing the resources. Pre-K?
Can I ask you a question,
Sure.
Mr. Bay? 173 of those students, and when I hear you say, the caseload for Teresa at the high school but at all the schools, I should say, with all the other students, is there a low percentage of them, high, average, of that, in addition to the different language, but also some learning needs, special services that they're needing with special ed, or is it just a minimal amount? Because that's also takes a lot of manpower, if you will, if they're needing additional services on top of using the language line and such.
Yeah, I would say where we're at right now with the majority of our MLL students, they are really learning the English language. There are students who may require special education services, but MLL is not a special education need. But a student may have MLL services, but in addition, they may have a disability. Just like a student that speaks English as their native language, they may have a disability. So I think we're finding it's similar to what we have in other populations, but right now, the focus is learning that English language.
Thank you.
Yeah. Pre-K. So I'm going to give you an overview of our pre-K program and where we're at as a district. And I'm going to focus at the end on our pre-K partnership with the YMCA. So benefits of pre-K, I think we've talked about this many times before. Really that social emotional development of children, that ability to know how to do school, that oral language piece is so important. And then the cognitive growth. We know that students that have early intervention, that participate in pre-K, they have greater academic success down the road. So currently, our pre-K programs, we have 2 classrooms over at Carl Lamb School, 2 classrooms at Sanford Pride, 1 classroom at Margaret Chase Smith School, 1 over at SRTC, and 1 new this year over at Sanford Springvale YMCA, which is our partnership program. You'll notice MCS only has 16 students. That's a capacity issue right now with space over there. So program structure, as I get the spinning wheel of death on my computer. There we go. So we do have a full day program. Our program runs 8:30 to 3. We do provide transportation for our elementary students, including the students at the YMCA. Provide free breakfast and lunch for all students. In terms of curriculum, we use a pre-K for Me curriculum, which is provided through the Maine Department of Education. It's an open source curriculum online, and it's aligned to the Maine Early Learning Development Standards. And our students in our program, they have access to the art, music, physical education, health, and library services. If you look at supportive services, they see our school nurse. Our school nurse provides support. They have access to our school counseling, outreach. Outreach does a lot of work to connect with our pre-K families. We have multilingual learner programming for these kiddos. What it looks like in pre-K is our MLL staff push in. They push in to provide the support. And then we do have special education services which are provided through CDS. This year, we were able to, through the funds from the Maine Department of Education, we were able to start a partnership program with the YMCA. This program was fully funded by the Maine DOE. It meets a real need in our community for wraparound care. That before and after care, we'd have families that sign up for pre-K all excited, and then they talk about, what am I going to do after school and before school? Can't make this work. And so they'd pull out. So this really provides that need for some families in our community. And this really strengthens our program. Our partnership with the YMCA, we have a partnership already. They do before and after care in our schools. And so this is a win for them. Financially, they were able to strengthen their pre-K program. They were able to offer it a full day. They were able to offer it to 16 students. We provide them with funding for that. They're able to access our professional development. They participate in professional development with us. It's a real win for us and for the YMCA. So what does it look like financially? Going into this, we talked about, is this something we want to do? And we talked about, well, this has to be sustainable. This has to be sustainable. This can't be just something we do because we have the funds, and then when the funds go away, we can't move forward with it. So this is a proposed budget for next year. Sanford School subsidy that we get for pre-K students, for 16 students, a full classroom, would be $164,158. That is estimated, and that's a number that Trustee Cheryl Fournier went through the formula and said, this is what we get, Steve. So that's about $10,259 per student. The YMCA has expenses. We're paying for their staff. We're paying for their supplies, small overhead cost, and the amount we're going to pay for the YMCA next year is $154,470. School nutrition, the lunch and breakfast, you'd think that would be free like everybody else. Well, there's some rule with the federal government where we can't get reimbursed for that. The Maine Department of Education is working hard to try to get that changed. That cost is one that the Sanford School Department pays currently out of our grant out of the grant. It's being funded out of those grant funds, and that cost is $18,620. Transportation, it's not costing us any additional money. We have a couple of students that take that bus. They take the bus that's going over to CJL or going to SPE, so that there's no additional cost for us for transportation. At a total expense for the program is $173.90, and so the difference, if you add up the school nutrition, what we're paying the Y, the difference is roughly $8,932. If we get that school nutrition piece figured out, the school department, we'd pretty much break even with maybe a little bit extra. There is a potential next year for a grant to continue funding this. I am not sure what's going on with grant funds. I think I know what's going on, but they're dried up. And so we have not heard anything, but there is a potential for a grant next year. Any questions on the funding before I move on? So how do we get to universal pre-K? That's really the goal of every community, to get to universal pre-K. Right now, we serve, all of our seats were filled, 112. That's about half of our kindergarten population. We're never going to get all of our kindergartners coming to pre-K. That's not going to happen. But looking at two ways, we can get closer to being able to say, anybody who wants to come to pre-K, we'll take you. Number one is special education, looking at special education programming. So students with special needs can be part of our programs. And the second part is continuing to look at partnerships. So if you look at the early learning centers in town, several of them have expressed interest in developing partnerships with us. That helps. We talked about that wraparound care, that before and after care. It talks about the ability to retain staff. If we have to really retain staff and elevate their programs, they're doing important work. And really, by elevating those programs, it's going to help us. So those are the two ways in which we can get to universal pre-K. I cannot speak highly enough of the work of our pre-K teachers do. That's where the magic happens. Our early learning centers in town, there's legislation, they had a subsidy to help provide support for childcare workers, and that funding looks like it's going to be decreased. So I'm a strong advocate for pre-K, but also early learning funding, because it does make a difference down the road with that. So with that, I'll open it up to questions about pre-K. Safety Committee.
Well, hold on here.
Sorry.
I want to reiterate, Steve, first, great job in terms of presenting that. I think we've seen how our pre-K program has grown, and I know when that first came on board, I had some concerns about our district's capacity to be able to take that on. But I think everyone saw its importance, everyone saw its value, and we came together and really, under Steve's leadership, has really come back to be able to see that program grow in a way that is also seeing the tremendous benefits that we're seeing in the school department for us to be able to see just the growth that our students are making academically, socially, helping getting them ready for school, the great impact it has on our community, because you're talking about a situation where there is an opportunity for people to have a pre-K program where it's not costing them anything and doing that. And that allows them to get quality education for their child, but it also may allow them to be in the workforce, to be able to come back and also be able to help in the community. Steve, do you want to, you mentioned universal, do you kind of want to give the committee just an idea of where we're at? Because we do put out a lottery, we do open this up? You want to give a timeline and an overview? Because I think there is a lottery, but I also know oftentimes when it's said and done, we've been pretty fortunate that we've almost been able to place everyone who's had an interest.
Yep, pre-K is done through a lottery. The lottery information will be going out to families hopefully tomorrow. We're opening up the lottery 2 or 3 weeks early. The reason why we're opening up the lottery early is because we want to notify families earlier, and we also want to be able to connect with child developmental services earlier before we make our placements, to make more thoughtful placements. And also with the YMCA before and after care, we just think it's going to take a little bit more time to make those placements. So that's why the lottery is opening up earlier. We are very close in terms of people who want to come to pre-K. We're close to being able to say, you want to come, you can come. That special education piece is a holdup. And then if we can increase our partnerships, that's the sort of the last piece I see. Those families that are in that private setting, if we can get that to come on to us, it's a win for us. We get the subsidy. We reimburse them with that. You think about it, the cost of pre-K, I'm just giving you an estimate from, I think it's 4 weeks in a month, it's about $1,000 a month. Average, that's probably on the low slide for pre-K. So as the taxpayers are looking at our budget and want to just think about that.
Can I ask you, just out of curiosity, when you're talking about partnerships and the staff with the partnerships, do they become Sanford School staff? And so in the sense of insurance and everything else, no, they're their staff and we're just partnering and using their staff?
The YMCA, we give the YMCA some funds to pay for their salaries. The YMCA may pay them a different amount because you have that before care, that after care, they may pay them a different amount. They are YMCA employees. They evaluate them, they're on their insurance. They are YMCA's employees, they supervise them. They join us for joint professional learning. And so like tomorrow, we're doing a joint professional learning. They're coming to join us. Our mentor, we have a mentor, the teacher at CGL is mentoring the teacher over there. So there's joint collaboration. Their classroom is being evaluated by the same rubric that we're evaluated on by the Maine Department of Education. They're taking the same assessment that we take. They're using the same curriculum. Really a lot of similarities, except it's at the Y. One last thing about, we good from the Y? Okay. One last thing about the safety committee. Oh, John.
I'm sorry, just one more. 112 kids, like, how many kids do you think wouldn't be doing any sort of pre-K? I know that's a wild guess, but would there be a substantial number of kids that are not doing any pre-K till they got to kindergarten without this program?
I think if you ask, I think we're probably at 25%, roughly 25% that have no experience.
And so what effect, can you speak to, like, what effect does that have on, like, the kindergarten classes? To have kids coming in that have been in school 3, 4 years old?
I'll give you a good story. So I was a assistant principal at Lamb for a long time. And we had done pre-K, and I said, this is good. Let's see what the benefits are. And so the first day of kindergarten, it can be, from my experience, it can be kind of traumatic, and you never know what you're going to get. And so the first day I go, and I was at Lamb when they're all coming in. The kindergartners came in, and they were hanging up their coats. They knew where to put their bags. They knew how to take out their folders. They were trained, and I looked and I was like, wow, this is good. But what happened was those kiddos that had no school experience, they're like looking around. They're like, looking around, what do I do? And then they looked. Who did they look? They didn't ask for the teacher's help. They were looking around to see what everybody else did, and they fell in line. So it's those things like our pre-K kids go into kindergarten knowing how to do school. And so it's those kids that don't have that experience, they come in and they don't know how to do school. And so there's that piece, and then that social emotional piece. Usually kiddos that don't have experience, they don't, sometimes don't know how to interact, how to deal with that give and take of relationships. So you see the difference. Yeah. Safety, I have a quick update about safety. Safety Committee meeting met beginning of January. We didn't meet today because of the budget workshop. Since then, we have done our second round of lockdown drills. Their report all went well. This time we did them unannounced, and so staff knew we were coming during the week, but they didn't know the exact date and time. I think the unannounced drill helped us see some things and what we can do in the future. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we have a presentation with the administrative team in regards to See Something, Say Something from the Sandy Hook Promise, which is an anonymous reporting system. We were originally scheduled to hear him last week, but he's going to come to the A-team next week, so I'll have an update for you that at our next meeting.
Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, moving on to new business.
Sure, just no action this evening, more discussion purposes. We do have the 2025-2026 school calendar. As you know, this is something that is worked upon with Sanford Regional Technical Center, really taking the lead with all of our sending schools. There's a rule that we can only, amongst all of our sending schools, only have 5 dissimilar days. So that's something that Matt Peterman, the director of Sanford Regional Technical Center, has been working with the sending schools. Usually when we get into the new year, it's an opportunity to be able to present that. As I said this evening, it's more just for discussion purposes and feedback, not looking to take action at this time. If you look at the calendar for next year, it's very similar to the calendar of this year. A lot of that hinges upon Labor Day. Labor Day is early again. This year, Monday, September 1st is going to be Labor Day. So when Labor Day is early, that allows us to have our first school day, which is the Tuesday after Labor Day. That will also allow us to go to the last week in August with our teacher in-service days as well as our new teacher orientation. We usually have new teacher orientation on that Tuesday, and the last week in August, Wednesday and Thursday are the first staff days before the long weekend with the Labor Day holiday. And then we start on September 2nd. That'll be the first day of school for students in grades really 1 through 9 and SRTC. Our first day of kindergarten will be Wednesday, September 3rd, and our first day of pre-K will be the following Monday, September 8th. We'll use a pretty similar calendar. There'll be a teacher in-service day the Friday before Indigenous People Weekend. That in-service day always lines up with the state conference or the for our CTE teachers. SRTC teachers have their statewide conference. So we've always had a teacher workshop day there as part of that long weekend. This year, Veterans Day is on a Tuesday in November. We'll continue to do, for Thanksgiving, the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of Thanksgiving. When you get to the December calendar, you're going to see our last day of school will be Tuesday, December 23rd. That break will lead right up to New Year's Day is on Thursday, January 1st. So we are going to give that Friday as a off day. And so the break will go from December 23rd to Monday, January 5th. And then you have the traditional February school vacation in February. You also have the traditional April school vacation, spring vacation. Through the month of May, there's the Memorial Day holiday. And then based on this calendar, the last day of school would be Tuesday, June 9th. That would be if there are no snow days. Every snow day we have adds on to the calendar. And then you can see how that would line up. Obviously, we always try to stay away from the Juneteenth holiday and June 19th to try to make sure we're wrapped up with it. So this way you can see very similar to what we've done in the past. This is, as I said, what the calendar that the Sanford Regional Technical Center is working from for all of the sending schools. So
I just want to note, and I don't really know how I feel about it, to be honest with you, but just looking ahead, because I know that people are not thrilled about, after the holidays and New Year's, having to go back, was it? I think, I don't have the calendar in front of me. But when I look at December 22nd, 23rd, a lot of people, that 23rd is usually kind of people use as a holiday sometimes, so I'm just saying that versus 6. So I don't know what the majority would want. I mean, you would probably know better than me if they would prefer the 23rd off and just go to school for the one day on the 2nd now, in the sense of like opening the buildings and all that for one day is probably silly. But I just want to acknowledge that I'm acknowledging it. That I get it. We're not going to make some people happy.
Yeah, thank you. We've also, this has also been shared with the leadership of the union, teachers union, also to be able to come back and get some feedback in terms of that. So I think initial thing was the idea of when you have to come back for one day, I think that the preference would have been front load that, to come back on the Monday and Tuesday before Christmas, and then that way it leads you right into the weekend so.
I was just going to say, just one more day off.
I'm also well aware of the narrative that is out there right now for public education, so I also want to make sure that that is also taken into account that when we're looking at calendars as well.
Good conversation. There it is. All right.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to December financials. Hello, Cheryl.
I'm back to talk about some more numbers. I know you guys are super excited. So, December financials. Okay, so we're halfway through the year. Can you believe it? So right now we're running similar to last year. It always looks like we're way below budget, but it's because of all the accrued salaries at year end, kind of skew things a little bit. In revenue, we're running about $1.4 million above budget, or above last year. That's of course subsidy, because we got additional subsidy last year. Federal grants, we're running about $1.1 million worth of revenue and $1.3 million worth of expense. And as you can see, it's just 1 month of billing that we're usually behind. Enterprise funds are running at $1.2 million worth of revenue with $1.3 million worth of expense. That's school nutrition, because the revenue is always running 1 month behind. Excuse me. Been talking too much today. So other grants, we're running about $170,000 worth of revenue and $390,000 worth of expense. A lot of that is because of a lot of the Perkins grant, Russ grant and stuff. We receive the money ahead of time. And so it looks a little strange at this point. And the preschool partnership grant, we'll get that back. We haven't gotten our first payment back from the state yet. So regular Article 1, regular instruction, we're running about $500,000 under budget, but we're running slightly under last year also at this point for Article 1. Article 2, we're running also under about $500,000, and we're running above last year. I think some of this is timing of some of our payments. I think we're going to see that a little bit throughout this this presentation. Article 3, career and technical, we're running about $200,000 below budget, but we're running above last year. So I think we're running, and we'll be fine there throughout the year too. I couldn't see anything that was unusual. It's just timing of buying a lot of supplies. Article 4, we're running about $4,000 below budget and running about $38,000 above last year, so we're still running true to be at budget at the year end. Article 5, which is IT and curriculum, we're running less than last year. Some of that is, we bought a lot of supplies at the very beginning of the year last year for curriculum, and so we're catching up on that. So we're running a little less than last year because of it, so timing of buying those goods. Article 6 is running below budget, but it's running similar to last year, and I know that came in right at budget last year, so I'm thinking that it's just timing of a couple of invoices. So I feel that that is running similar to last year. Excuse me. Article 7. We're running about 24,000 below budget and 37 above last year, so I think we're right in line to be at year end. I do know some of the expenses are running a little less than I expected as of this time, but I see some stuff coming in lately. Transportation is the one I've been kind of at odds with. We just paid 2 months worth of bills in the past times that we paid them. So in January, that's all going to look better because there was 2 months worth of payments in January, and so it will look more normal.
And that's with Ledgmere, right, who we
Yeah.
contract with. I noticed that we were getting bills for our fall athletic trips just in this last one. So
In
it
this
looks
last
like
one,
that they
yes.
are behind in terms of
A
that.
little late on their billing. And last year, they were really good about this time of year, and then they lagged at the end of the school year, and that seems like we're flopping this year. So
Our biggest concern is making sure we have enough drivers. The billing can take a back seat as long as we have enough drivers.
I know, but it screws with my percentages. Article 9, it looks like we're way below budget. It's actually a bond payment that got paid in January instead of December last year, and then you're going to see in the next one, it's the opposite. It's like we have 2 bonds that are due on the 15th of a month, and we don't like to wait till last minute, and then sometimes we get them late because it goes through the city, and by the time we get it, it's like we're quickly trying to pay them. So I was like, what? Why are we so much under budget? But then when I looked at it, it was the timing of one bond versus the other. Last year they were swapped. Which one got paid in December, which one got paid in January. So it looks like we're way under budget, but if you took that $700,000 worth of interest, we'll be right there. So we'd be right at where we were last year. So then when you go into the next one, same thing. Now it looks like we're way over budget, but we're not. It's just that by the time you put January in there, it will look fine for next month. And so, Article 7, we're running just about 4,000 below budget, and we're running $11,000 over last year, and that's because of health insurance change on one employee. Adult education is running about $19,000 below budget, but running right where they were last year, so I have no concerns there either. And then of course you always have the nice long memo if you want to read more into other items, if you'd like. That is the December financials.
How riveting. Thank you so much. We appreciate all your hard work. And again, colors are spot on. Would someone like to make a recommendation for the December financials?
I'll make a motion to accept the financials as presented.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Lisa? Thank you. All right, moving on to old business, resignations and retirements.
Yeah, resignations, retirements. Andrew Dumont resigned as high school varsity softball coach. William Puffer resigned as high school boys varsity soccer coach. Anders Larson has submitted his retirement effective the end of the year. Big thank you to Anders. He's contributed many years to the Sanford School Department and Sanford Middle School. Colleen McGuigan, second grade teacher at Sanford Pride. She as well has also devoted most of her career to elementary students in Sanford. Colleen also will be retiring at the end of this school year. Kathleen Spencer, an ed tech over at Sanford Pride, also retiring at the end of this year. Also very appreciative and thankful for Kathleen and all that she's been able to give to our students and support our staff. Caitlin Waterhouse is the project manager of the after-school CACFP nutrition program at the high school. Nate McClellan, middle school boys lacrosse coach. Vicki Pear has also announced her retirement. She's been a longtime ed tech in the district in special education at Sanford High School. Aletha Patine, library ed tech at Carl J. Lamb. Maggie Warner, a visual arts teacher at the high school, has also announced her retirement effective the end of the year. Also going to very much miss Maggie and all that she's been able to come back to our art program and the impact that she's had on students and also the art program in general. Mark Brezino and Dan Stefanello as middle school baseball coaches resigned. Herb Stinson, math teacher at Sanford High School, retiring at the end of the year. Herb also has been with us many years and another tremendous impact on students at the high school. Donna Hanson-Dugas, administrative assistant, special ed office. She's announced her retirement. It won't be until next November, though, November of 2025. Donna's been with us for a long time, a real integral member of the special ed department. Amy Felkers, a school counselor at Sanford High School, has resigned, and Kevin Kitchen, a second shift custodian at the high school and technical center. Once again, thank you to all the people for all their contributions to the Sanford School Department, but especially those retirees coming up at the end of the year. One appointment to announce, Ed Tech 3 technology specialist for our elementary schools is Jamie O'Brien. And then some athletic stipends to talk about. We're in our second winter season at Sanford Middle School. Starting here in February, Tori Lawrence will be the middle school head volleyball coach. Chris Hill, middle school wrestling coach. Ethan Penny, assistant wrestling coach at the middle school. And got a few transfers to announce. Lorraine Ordernetto is going from a kitchen personnel at the middle school to an Ed Tech 3 at SRTC. And she'll be working in a long-term sub-position for us there. She's finalizing her Ed Tech 3 credentials. Ashley Sumasalaski is a kitchen personnel sub. She's going to be moving into that CACFP, the after-school program at the high school, for that project manager. Kondi Nisimba is a moving into a second shift custodian position at the high school and SRTC. And Denise Bergeron is moving from an Ed Tech 2 over at Carl J. Lamb, moving over to Sanford Pride Elementary. And those are the transfers to announce. And there'll be no nominations this evening for any teaching positions.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to policies and procedures.
Good evening again. I have a number of policies for you this evening. I have 3 for first read and a number of second reads, and then 1 or 2 deletions at the end. These policies all come from Section C. We've been working on Section C the past couple of meetings. And so I'll start with the first one. The first one for first read is policy CBD, which is the superintendent's contract. This is an updated policy from MSMA, and it outlines the superintendent's contract process with the school committee. That policy was last updated a while ago. With that, second one is policy CBB, which is a recruitment and appointment of superintendent. That policy was last updated in 1989. So with this policy, we really simplified that policy, and we removed the administrative procedures out of that policy. And I'll explain why in a second. The next one is procedure GCFB-R, recruiting and hire of administrative staff procedures. That is where the hiring procedures for the superintendent now fall. They fall within that procedure. So we took them out of policy where they really muddied the water, and we moved them into a separate procedure. And so my recommendation is to accept the first reading on policies CBD, CBB, and procedure GCFB-R.
Okay, do we have a recommendation to accept the first reading of policies?
I'll make a motion to accept the first reading of policy CBD, CBB, and GCFB-R.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right, perfect, thank you.
And I have the following policies for second reading. Policy CB-E, a job description of the superintendent. The previous version focused mainly on administrative duties. The new version expands to include areas of communication, leadership, staff development, and community relations. Policy CBI, which is the evaluation of the superintendent. The updated policy from MSMA evolves the superintendent evaluation from a general review to a more structured collaborative process. Policy CE, administrative committees. The updated policy replaces the term school board with school committee. Same thing with policy CHD, administrative and policy absence. Policy CHA, development of administrative procedures. This is a new proposed policy from MSMA, and it combines the old policies CHB from 1989 and CHC 1989. Covers the same thing, but in one policy. Policy CHCA, approval of handbooks and directive. The updated policy clarifies language to include guardians. It just had parents before, and it changes school board to school committee. And it left in that piece about the superintendent reviewing any major changes. That is in this policy here. Policy CM, School District Annual Report. The updated policy expands to include specific areas like student achievement, curriculum, test scores, staffing, enrollment, budget, and facilities. It also adds a purpose for the report's role as a key communication tool for informing stakeholders about the school district's progress and conditions. And policy CI, which is temporary administrative arrangements. When that policy was written, the assistant superintendent was a business director. And so this policy now outlines in terms of administrative arrangements, it has the assistant superintendent as the next person in command. And my recommendation is to approve the policies I just read for a second reading.
Okay, thank you.
I make a recommendation, I make a recommendation to accept the second reading of policies CB-E, CBI, CE, CHD, CHA, CHCA, CM, and CI.
Is there a second? Perfect. Any discussion on any of these?
No, just that we've spent some time on this. We've had a workshop, and as Steve was reading them all, I was like, yep.
Favor? Perfect, thank you so much.
And as we're going through the section C, I have two policies that we talked about as a committee to delete this evening. The first one is policy CH, policy implementation. And the recommendation is delete this policy as it is now included in policy CA, which is administration goals. And the second one is a renaming of a policy CBC with superintendent's contract, and that's now replaced with CBD. It's a renaming, recoding of those policies. And so my recommendation and the recommendation of the committee is to delete those.
Okay,
I make a motion to delete policy CH and CBC as presented.
is there a second? Okay, thank you, Lisa. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Perfect. All right, is there any items for future agendas? Anyone? No? Okay. And some calendar announcements?
Sure. As mentioned earlier, we have a school committee workshop this Wednesday at 4 o'clock. This is going to be not a budget workshop. It's going to be more focused on policy. As I mentioned earlier, as we do with the Section C policies, there's also a dangerous student behavior piece that update that we want school committee, the whole school committee, to discuss, as well as a parent conduct policy as well that's being discussed. So that'll be this Wednesday, 4 o'clock. That'll be right at central office. Curriculum committee meeting this Thursday at 8 at central office. Next school committee budget workshop will be next Monday, February 10th, right here in the chambers, beginning at 4. We also have a school committee budget workshop tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, February 12th. Then we have the next policy committee will be Monday, February 24th at 8 a.m. The next school committee budget workshop, that also is tentative, February 24th, that Monday. Then we have a school committee regular business meeting scheduled for February 24th, that Monday as well, 6 in the chamber, 6 o'clock. School committee budget workshop that Wednesday. Once again, this is another tentative one if needed. Special Education Advisory Committee meeting will be Wednesday, February 26th, 2:30 at Sanford Community Adult Ed. And then we still have some tentative budget workshops in the event that we still need some time to approve, get approval from the school committee on the 25-26 budget. That'll be Monday, March 3rd. And then our the first Monday in March will be a regular school committee business meeting at 6 o'clock in the chambers. One other thing to announce, the next vape and tobacco committee meeting is going to be next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, February 11th, and that'll go from 2:45 to 3:45 in the small cafeteria at the high school as we continue work on addressing vaping.
Okay, thank you. Who would like to make a recommendation to adjourn?
I make a recommendation to adjourn this meeting at 7:22 p.m.
All right.
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, thank you, everybody. Have a great night.